everybody. Welcome to the next edition of the special interest discussions. We are talking to Sally, aka Kellan, aka Thrifty Trekkie cosplayer extraordinaire, fantastic person. So I'm gonna stop rambling and just let you go.
Okay, sure. So tonight I wanted to give you kind of my personal experience in cosplay, how I got started, and the kind of journey that it took me on, and how it helped me find parts of myself that I wasn't familiar with at the time, because I think that's a really meaningful thing that a lot of younger fans can connect to. Even older fans maybe who haven't finished figuring out who they are. I think cosplay is a really great companion to have with you on that journey. So I first began cosplaying, and all of this is going to be Star Trek related because I really only do Star Trek cosplay. I first started cosplaying in 2014. I was in college at the time, didn't have a whole lot of extra money. I'm sure we're all familiar with that, but I wanted to go to a convention, and all the pictures that I saw, people were dressed up. So I thought that was part of it. I thought that was something I almost had to do to go. So I put together 2 costumes. That's all I could afford to do. And I did them as cheaply as I could. I cosplayed a male character and a female character. And I was nervous about both of those for different reasons. Many of you know now that I identify as non-binary, but at the time I didn't know what that was. I was new to Star Trek. I was new to the queer community as a whole. So I was nervous about being 2 different genders of character. I didn't know how people would perceive me. Whether they would question me, whether they would make fun of me. So that's how I got started, and I owe a lot of it to the positive reactions that I got at that first convention. I was treated really warmly, I was treated with respect, and that just made me realize I want to keep cosplaying as cheaply as I can, but it felt kind of nice to dress in a way that I don't traditionally dress. It felt nice to be recognized as a gender that I'm not recognized as on a daily basis. That felt good. So I can't see anything, forgive me. I kind of chased that feeling for a few years. I wasn't sure quite what to call it yet, but I knew that it felt nice. And there are people who experience, rather than dysphoria, they experience a euphoria. That's kind of been my experience so far. So I was experiencing, some people experience dysphoria. I was experiencing a sense of gender euphoria, which is kind of not knowing what to call it, but feeling good when someone addresses you the way that you want to be addressed. And I didn't really have a name for that aspect of the community yet. So it was something that I experimented with through cosplay, and I just didn't fully understand that at the time, because cosplay is one of the very few areas where you have complete control over how people see you and how people perceive you. Right away, you're establishing a connection with their favorite character. So when they see you, they associate you with whatever positive memories they have, instead of if you're dressing the way that you prefer just in daily life, you might not always be greeted in such a positive way. So I think that cosplay is a great area for you to build your confidence in that regard by choosing characters that inspire you and that make you feel the way that you want to feel as a person out of cosplay. When I first started too, I was a lot more reserved and definitely a lot more shy, and I'm still shy today, but connecting to characters with confidence is something that I try to do. I don't generally complete a cosplay if it's a character I don't feel some kind of connection to. I try to place myself somewhere in their journey. Now, many of the Trek characters that I choose are traditionally, we all have headcanons about what way many of them are queer, but that's always something that I bring with me when I cosplay it, and that's always kind of been just privately held. But especially with the new Discovery characters, and I'm not going to say anything to spoil it, but especially with those new characters coming out, we have opportunities for people to see us exactly as we are on screen, instead of it just being, oh, well, this is how I feel about the character. Now it's right there on screen, and people are going to recognize that right away. So I think that's going to be another really powerful level of cosplay, especially for younger fans. What else can I say? So that's just kind of how I got started and how I found the way that it made me feel along the way. As far as making cosplay more accessible, that's something that I'm really interested in doing too. I try to put things together as cheaply as I can and using just thrifted clothes and craft supplies as much as I can, because I want other people to experience the confidence and the joy that it's given me. If anyone is unsure of themselves, I want them to try cosplay as a way to find themselves. Just connecting to someone else is genuinely a good way to discover who you are. And that comes from, you know, the writers putting little pieces of themselves into the characters. You can get that back as a cosplayer. You can invest in your favorite characters and get something back from them, I think. And that's just, I don't know, it's really rewarding for those of us who are so deeply into fandom. Like this one cost about $40, including the boots and the belt and all the things that you can't see. But I try to keep them to that or under so that people can do a whole lineup of costumes for what it might cost to get one made by a professional. And I think too, when you're making it yourself, I see so many people who are like, well, I don't know how to sew. I've never sewn before. It doesn't matter. You don't need a sewing machine. I don't do anything on a machine with my costumes. I do it all by hand. It's just small modifications here and there. All I did on this was add sleeves. I cut these off of another shirt and put them onto this. And I feel like that's something that a good amount of people could learn how to do. So yeah, I'm trying to make it a more open community, because I worry that it's exclusive at times. You're expected to look just like the person. You're expected to have this huge budget and this incredible skill set with so many different materials. And I just don't feel like that's the way it should be. I know I mentioned that I pretty much only cosplay Star Trek. And within that, I pretty much only cosplay aliens, because back to the gender thing, it's been powerful for me to give someone a sense of other, of alienness, and to embrace it. So to find some kind of comfort in people seeing you as other has been a rewarding experience for me, and I hope it is for others as well. Yeah. Oh my goodness, was that it? Does anyone have a question? Yeah. I think Casey will unmute people, or you can unmute yourselves. Yeah.
People can unmute themselves. If you have a question, just jump right in.
Right, I've got a question.
Yeah.
I really want to get into like special effects makeup.
Okay.
The problem is I have a severe latex allergy.
Okay, yeah.
Is there anything out there that is relatively inexpensive to do if you want to do like special effects alien makeup that wouldn't cause me to go to the ER?
Yes, absolutely. So when I do most of my aliens, I don't use an appliance. Like my Bajoran ridges are just drawn. I don't know if you can see in this lighting at all. They're just drawn on. There's no appliance at all. So you can do things like this, or like a trill, that don't require any appliance, or Vulcan eyebrows don't require any appliance. Otherwise, I am a big fan of Model Magic, it's a Crayola brand, but it's a brand name of clay that's really lightweight that you can use for some of your, I don't believe it has any rubber in it, but I'd have to look to be sure. But I've used that for like Borg implants and kind of smaller forehead pieces, because it's really lightweight and you can paint it any color you want. And that might be a good alternative. You can stick it on with spirit gum instead of a latex adhesive. I don't see any problem with that. I need to see everyone.
I was just gonna say I really like your philosophy on it, because I mean I've never like really been drawn to cosplay, but like I mean beyond like Halloween and stuff. But yeah, I see stuff at cons and it's like it just seems so intense. Like I don't have the desire to spend a year working on a costume. Like I just want to put on like I mean for our Halloween thing last week, I was like, okay, I have a bowler hat and suspenders. Perfect. I'll be Alex from Clockwork Orange. I can buy some eyelashes. Done. Like I'm not gonna go all out and buy some, like create like the perfect reproduction. And it just seems like that's where everyone is going towards, like the perfect reproduction. And I'm like, can't you just like do like an homage to the character? Yeah. So I really like that philosophy. But I did want to ask, like,
yes,
have you already started your new disco character cosplay stuff? Are you excited about that?
It's finished. And you reminded me to bring that up actually in what you said about things being quick. That's another thing that I try to prioritize, because again, it seems like I don't have that much time to invest in a costume that I'm going to wear for one day. So my projects take about a week or less, because why spend all that time on something that you're not going to get to enjoy for more than a day? And I mean, you're going to make incredible memories when you're wearing it, but I still think it's not worth stressing over to that degree. I think it's more fun to just say, oh, I finished this today, and to do that repeatedly instead of being like, oh, well, I put, this tiny detail on, maybe next week I'll do the other side. I just don't think that's as fun. And there are people that are into the pure detail, and I admire that. It's just not for me.
Can I just ask a real quick question? I feel like I feel very restrained by, in terms of if I were to go into cosplay, like that'd have to be race specific to an Asian person. And I don't know if that's something I've like put on myself, or it's like I've gone to Halloween costumes where I just come as like a Harry Potter character and they're automatic like, oh, you're Cho Chang. And it's like, no, like I'm just a Harry Potter character. So
Okay.
I just feel like if I go out there and I dress as someone, they're like, oh, you're like the race bent version of X. And it's like, no, I'm just character X, Do you feel like that's something that's out there in the cosplay community of like, not just gender, but like race?
I see that, and I wish I could speak to that as a person of color, but I can't. I do feel like that is a pervasive issue. I think you're right in bringing that up, that people will assume you are one specific character because of your race, instead of just enjoying the costume that you've chosen to do. I do see that being a problem, absolutely. And especially since you're so limited in the characters that you were to choose if you were cosplaying an Asian character specifically, that's where people are going to go when they see you. That's who they're going to assume you are right away. Yeah, that is unfair of us to do. Yeah, no, I think that is an issue, definitely. I think it's okay for you to cosplay any character you want, and I think you might try choosing someone with a really unique uniform or costume so that people associate the costume right away and then think, oh, that's amazingly well done, instead of first thinking that's an Asian version of whatever character.
Yeah, thank you. That's really helpful.
You're welcome. I'm sorry that people do that to you, and you don't have a lot of choice, and you should be whoever you want. It's Star Trek, it's the future. None of us are aliens, And I can only speak on it from the gender standpoint, but it's about the love that you put into the costume. It's not necessarily about how you look. Like I occasionally cosplay Will Riker, who I look nothing like. And it's just because I like the character. I don't expect anyone to be like, wow, you look just like him. I expect them to be like, oh, it's Riker. That's all I want. That's all I want is that connection. So I think choosing your favorites is the way to go, because people are going to see the love that comes out of it rather than purely what you look like. Like, this is not screen accurate. That's another thing I'm big on. It's not screen accurate at all. And I'm happy to point out all of the inconsistencies, but that doesn't stop people from saying, oh, it's Kira. People will see past that because they'll see the character.
You said Will Riker, and I thought you meant Will Wheaton, and was like, I could totally see that. What do you mean you look nothing like him?
No, I haven't done any Wesley costumes yet, but I do love all of his sweaters, so it's a possibility.
It seems like a really easy one. You just go to like Goodwill and buy like the worst sweater there. Done.
Yeah, and you can do so many things with one or two shirts. Instead of making something completely from scratch, you can buy two things that are already made and kind of splice them together. That's how a lot of my looks are born. So I can definitely see you getting a plain gray one and doing his little banded stripes across it with like a ribbon, and you're done. Yeah, good. Does anyone in here like looking to start a cosplay, or something I can guide you toward if you haven't cosplayed ever before? I love doing that.
Well, as someone who is not, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was wondering if you had any ideas for like prop making to go along with the costume, like a tricorder or stuff, like little stuff like that.
Yes, absolutely, I do. And I think that props are another great thing we can do to really sell the character that we're being, because it's a little unique touch that not everybody does. As far as tricorders, Goodwill has always got a selection of bags, always, and you can spray paint it black if it's not black already, and do some little silver details. If people are getting close enough to you to see that it's not a perfect replica, they're probably being really creepy. So if it looks good from a few feet away, that's all you need, right? That's all you need to sell the effect. So yeah, you can always find like a lunchbox that's a good square shape to start with. For pads, I use, I don't know when these were popular, but it's a notebook portfolio. A little notepad goes inside it. Those make great pads. What else? I haven't done it yet, but I've got a little vial of like a facial cleanser that I use, and I'm looking at that and I'm thinking it's got a silver lid on it. It looks like the little medical scanner that whirls around. So it's just a matter of painting things mostly. Yeah, good question. I love props. They make photos so much more fun.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What if you want to do like a generic Star Trek alien?
Yeah.
And not character specific, but species specific. Like, for instance, I've been tinkering with the idea of Kardashian makeup.
Okay.
But like I said, the big hurdle for me was finding something to do the scales that wasn't going to end up with me in ER.
Yeah, I hear you. If the clay doesn't work for that, I have seen people do a great job just drawing them on. If you mask your eyebrows with a bit of just a glue stick and let it dry and then do your makeup over it, they won't even be there. And you can kind of get away with just shading it yourself and not using any appliance at all, which is great because I get really tired of wearing appliances for a full day. I really try to avoid it. So even though I can wear them, I don't like to. So I understand what you're going for there. As far as generic aliens, like finding clothing pieces.
Yeah.
I know it's just because I'm a big Deep Space Nine fan, but they give us great glimpses into civilian life for a lot of different races. So you can kind of pull maybe an image of a few different civilian characters and just kind of take those with you as a reference when you're shopping and see, oh, that color, that'll work. Or, oh, here's like the Bajorans using a lot of knitted textures. You can find, oh, here's a knitted poncho that I might be able to incorporate into my look. And then people will know what race you're going as, even if they can't place the particular costume that you've made.
Okay.
I hope that was helpful. I just kind of rambled for a bit. Okay.
No, it was helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
You said that you don't do a lot of sewing from scratch, which
Yeah.
very helpful. What kind of things do you do? Do you just sort of find pre-made pieces and put them together? You do a lot of hand sewing, double stick tape, hot glue, that kind of thing? Like,
Yeah.
what are some tricks?
No, all of those methods are really solid approaches. Most of my stuff comes from 2 or more existing pieces. Usually I try to keep it to 2 just to keep it more affordable. But it's, oh, I like the sleeves off of that and the middle off of that, or, oh, I like this belt, but not the buckle. So you need to kind of look past the whole piece and see what it could be cut down into. And that's another reason I like to thrift things, is because who wants to buy something full price and then cut it up? And at the same time, who wants to spend, weeks sewing something completely from scratch? And fabric by the yard is expensive. So I don't think it's a good way to go if you're just getting started, because you're going to pour a lot of money into it and really have a steep learning curve going from scratch.
And no one can afford wool gabardine.
No, I've noticed that. And then you have to dye it and you have to get the seam a certain way.
Yeah. I used black denim for a DS9 jumpsuit, and it came out really good, and you can't really tell the difference. So that was quite a bit cheaper.
There we go. I love it. Again, yeah, if somebody's not right up close to you, they can't tell that the details are different. I'm a huge proponent of using like tracksuits in place of one-piece suits, because we see a lot of jumpsuits on screen. And especially if you're wearing a belt, or if there's a zipper or some kind of tricorder or holster you can put on, that's going to distract people from the fact it's 2 pieces. And you can get sweatshirts and sweatpants that match them perfectly in color, even brand new, for less than $10 a piece. Especially with winter coming up, look for those.
And it's easier to pee in a 2-piece than in a jumpsuit.
Yeah, and they're much, much easier to wear. Absolutely.
I had a question about makeup.
Okay.
I think the first one I tried was sort of was a bit of a development from time to time, but it was an Andorian thing.
Okay. Yeah.
I've got the wig still somewhere, but I was looking forward today, but I didn't seem to find it. But, the question was, like, the makeup that I was wearing, it tended to flake, flake off. And I'm wondering, is there like a brand that you would recommend that for like face paint or something like that, if you have to do a full color change?
Sure, yeah, I'll say a few different techniques here so that people can choose what'll work for them. But you can use almost any brand if you're going to use a setting spray before and after. So a setting spray, it's water-based, so hopefully it's hypoallergenic, but you spray that on first and it moistens your face essentially, but then you put the makeup over it and then you spray it down again, so it's less likely to dry out because it's got 2 layers of moisture. Another thing you can do if you're using it with an appliance, I always recommend rubber mask grease is what it's called, because that will go on any surface just as well as it'll go on your skin. So when I do my Kardashian makeup, I put that on my appliance and then I put the exact same stuff on my skin, and that gives you a better blend. Other than that, if you're not doing anything with an appliance, I really like Meron as a brand. It really goes a long way. You wet it down with water and then you apply just a little bit and you'll be surprised how far it spreads. But setting spray is the best. Always use setting spray.
Yes. I have long hair.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do plan on cutting it, but I'm probably not going to cut it very short.
Okay.
But a lot of characters, you know, they have very specific hair styles. And I was wondering if you have experience with wigs.
Yes, I use wigs for all of my costumes. I'm wearing one now. I try to get wigs that they're not perfect for the character, but they could work for 2 or 3 characters just to keep my costs down. Like, this isn't a perfect Kira wig, but it can also work for something else. If you're gonna get a cheap, like after Halloween type sale wig, that's totally fine. The one thing that's gonna kill your effect is if it's shiny, but you can fix that by putting like a baby powder or talcum powder through it, kind of combing that through, and that'll really tame the shine. So you can get your $10 or less wig and still make it look good. Those are more fun to cut up too, because they're not a huge investment. Some of these wigs are hundreds of dollars, and it's just incredible. It's just not worth it. Lace front wigs especially are very expensive, and I really try to avoid those. I will just get something, lace front, sorry, if you don't know, it doesn't have bangs. It kind of has a little flap on it that'll go under your skin and kind of look like a natural hairline. Those are very expensive and they're very easy to mess up, really finicky. So I'm not into those. You can get a wig with bangs and just kind of tuck them underneath and get a similar effect. Again, if nobody's close to you, they're not going to know the difference. Yeah, lots of ways to avoid spending money on wigs, definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and you can fit, as far as I know, you can fit almost any length of hair into a wig cap and hold it pretty flat. So you shouldn't have to worry about cutting it too short in the first place if you don't want to.
Yeah. You said something about using a glue stick on eyebrows.
Yeah.
I've seen it done, but first of all, are there any like tips for that? And second of all, how do you get that off?
So you want to just make sure you're using like the cheap purple glue sticks are water soluble, so you can wash those off with water later. It's not comfortable to wear, I will admit, but it does give a pretty good effect. The best tip I can give would be to start against your hair grain. So like if I were applying it, to start by going this way and then smooth it down after. That way you get glue in between every hair instead of just over the top. That's going to give you a more smooth look in the end. But yeah, it'll wash out. It takes a lot of water, but it will wash out with water.
Quick question. So yeah. I know you play a lot of Bajoran, Kardashian, 7 and 9.
I do.
So tell me, what alien species is the one that you like the most to play? And if there an alien species that you would want to do at some point?
Yes, Trill are always my favorite to cosplay, and they always have been. And that's, in the past, it's been because I've thought, oh, these are really remarkable allegories for transgender people. Of course, now Discovery is actually giving us that, and I'm really excited. But in the past, that's always been why I've enjoyed cosplaying them. I just think the spots are a lot of fun, and I always have a great time. You don't see a lot of them at cons. There's a lot of good reasons to do them. What alien have I not been that I would like to be? I'd really like to be a Bolian. I'm trying really hard to figure out a way to get the line down my face. I'm thinking like a pipe cleaner or something, or 2 bald caps. I haven't come up with a way to do it cheaply yet, but that is on my list. Yeah.
That would be I like that. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't have a specific character for that. I just want to figure out the makeup. I like to figure out as many aliens as I can, and my list is a lot shorter than it should be at this point, I think. I get hung up on the Bajorans and Kardashians and Trill because those are my favorite.
My vote is for a Tellurite because I kind of want to see how you look with Tusk.
You know what? After Halloween is a good time for that, though. You could probably cut up a few masks and get that look.
That'd be cute. Okay.
Thank you, Rodney. No, aliens are the best. I encourage you to start with an alien if you've never cosplayed before, because nobody can tell you. I mean, people might be jerks, but really nobody can tell you that you're not doing it right because it doesn't exist. So that's a good way to start. Yes, Alyssa.
I've got a quick question. With Kardashian, okay, what is the actual shade of a Kardashian? Is it white? Is it gray? Is it somewhere in between?
Yeah, there is a lot of not debate, but a lot of variation in how gray it should be. And I think that's just due to the lighting being so poor on that set. We all know it's terrible and it's really hard to see. So in that case, when I'm doing a DS9 costume, I try to find reference photos outside of the show, like the costumes I try to find on auction websites to get a better look at the lighting in a natural sense instead of in the set sense. With the prosthetics, they're not going to be painted if you find them on an auction website. So it's good to try and look for like the backstage pictures where they're outside eating lunch so you can get a sense of what it looks like in natural light. That's going to be your best indicator. For me personally, I try not to do them too gray because it looks a lot darker on your face when you're indoors. So I use a tone of paint, and I think this is hilarious, but the paint I use is called Corpse Flesh. It's kind of a grayish white skin tone, but it's not fully gray. It's just a really sickly kind of color. I think that works pretty well.
Because I've done zombie makeup before, and I was kind of wondering if it was the same hue, but I didn't want to try to. I was afraid to try it because I know some cosplayers are really, I don't know what the word is. I want to say self-righteous when it comes to certain species.
Yep.
And so if you goof, they like jump down your throat.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I don't see that so much at the Star Trek specific events, which is why I try to frequent those instead of just general conventions. But the upside at general conventions is they might not know what character you are. They might just be impressed by the makeup, and they won't have that knowledge to be so demanding about what exact shade it needs to be. But based on what you're saying, I think zombie flesh is going to be pretty close to what I use as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really sickly color. That's the best way I can put it. It's also another thing you can do is if you do like injury makeup, it's kind of cool to bring together a specific like battle scene, and that gives you a lot of room to play. Like your uniform can be torn. It doesn't have to be perfect in the first place. You can have whatever scars or blood or whatever gore effect you want to use to show that your character's been in a fight. You can always do that.
Okay.
Since you stress not necessarily being super specific, which is awesome, do you have any sort of general rules, or I like to get the line of something, or I like to get the sleeves right, any sort of tricks like that you tend to go for?
Oh yeah, so depending on the character, I just try to pull what's the most recognizable thing. What is a detail that I see maybe that's a little smaller? So I've got like a sliding scale of how much I care about the details. If it's something as small as like my little badge here on the collar, I don't care so much if it looks perfect because you can't see it. But if it's something like, her sleeves very distinctly come in at the chest, that's something I'm gonna try and duplicate. You can't see very well that they're textured, but I know that they're textured on screen. So that's another thing I go for because those are really big details that people will see right away. Other than that, on smaller scale stuff, it's like, when I cosplay Esri, I put the beauty mark on because I always see that and I associate that strongly with Esri. So it's a matter of picking up what is particular to the character that you're being and duplicating the most noticeable parts. Not the tiny details. Don't go for the tiny details.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you. And it doesn't have to be a perfect replica. Like the texture on these sleeves is not the quilted texture that we see with those nice diamonds in it, but it's textured. So you see that there's something different about it. That's really all I'm going for. So you are free to do whatever you want in the cosplay realm. There are so many people that reinterpret the character as the cosplayer's own gender. That's totally fine. Or you can be whatever gender they are on screen. And these are things that you can achieve with makeup or with the fit of your clothing. It's really easy for you to manipulate how people see you. And that's why I enjoy it so much. I'm not a hugely feminine person. So when I cosplay as a feminine character, like Kira, which, you know, it's a tight catsuit, but what I get out of it is her sense of confidence and her sense of, if someone were to say something to me that I thought was rude or kind of gross, I would feel her confidence in telling them to stop. So that's kind of why I choose my characters, not necessarily because of how feminine or masculine they are.
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
In terms of that, have you, I've seen your Riker one, which was really cool. If you guys haven't seen her Riker demonstration thing with the great pool thing, it's actually pretty cool.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I haven't seen, I see you do a lot of the female characters, but I haven't seen a whole bunch of like a Riker or a, I saw your data, but have you ever considered like doing like a Worf or a, I don't know, a Miles O'Brien or something like that?
I have cosplayed Miles O'Brien. Yes, I would be hesitant to do Worf just because I guess this is the most I can relate to the race issue. I would be hesitant to cosplay a character where the actor is a different race than me if I can help it. I could certainly cosplay a Klingon, but people might not understand because I'm a different race than the character, and that's fine. I'm not gonna manipulate my skin in order to do that unless it's, you know, gray or blue or green or something that's not offensive. But yeah, I do need to do more masculine characters. I try to share tutorials where I can about how to change the shape of your face from what we assume is masculine and what we assume is feminine. And I'm always looking for suggestions of characters that people want to see how to do that. Because I really do thrive when somebody wants the help. If I just have to pick my favorite characters, I am going to pick a lot of female characters.
For the record, I would kill to see you as Miles O'Brien if you actually did that. I have not seen those pictures.
I'll post the pictures. I only took a few pictures because it was really dark, really darkly lit when I did them, and I only got a few good ones. But yeah, no, I have done it, and it was fun.
And one other question, sorry, that's all the time.
Okay.
So like, and you did the one of the with Sherlock Holmes. Have you ever tried to do like a mashup of those kind of things, like a Star Trek version of a Sherlock Holmes character or something like that?
No, I haven't done a lot of mashup cosplays, but that's another way that you can get into it from a standpoint of anybody can do it. And then, of course, Star Trek lends itself very well to that, in that if you're a Sherlock Holmes fan, you could also do a Data or Geordi cosplay that is screen accurate. So those are always fun. I mean, if you're into history, you have a lot of opportunity as far as holodeck episodes go to wear something from history that you enjoy and still kind of be a Star Trek character and still kind of be at home and just be like, oh no, I'm from the holodeck. You can get away with just about anything. So yeah, there's lots of opportunities for crossovers. Not that I've done, but they're out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, someone said Sherlock Data. Yeah, I need to do more Data cosplay. I really do love Data, so that would be a fun one. Holodeck episodes in general, and I say this a lot, but holodeck episodes are a perfect way to start cosplaying because the characters themselves are using existing period clothing. So you can find that just as easily as they did back then. And it's unique. So if people see you at a convention and recognize you, it's really obscure and you get a deeper connection right away. All about the connection, all about finding who you are and what you enjoy.
Do you find that there's a performance aspect to it? Like, I know in your pictures you're always posing or whatever, like when you're at a convention or whatever, do you try to behave like the character to an extent, or is it just about the costume?
I do try to. I'm not interacting with people as if I'm in character all day, but like I said, since I'm shy, I do get some aspect of the characters out of me when I put the costume on, and that's always really beneficial. Even if I'm doing someone like Garrick, where they're more an ambiguous character, there's still some charisma there that I can grab onto and use to my advantage. So yeah, and then people get more excited when you sell it. It's all about selling it. It's all about the energy that you've got with you when you're dressed up. If I were, just kind of slouching back and looking really timid, you wouldn't buy this as easily as you are now. And of course, I'm stuttering as I'm speaking, and that's losing it a bit. And that's why I do still pictures instead of video. But yeah, I do think that connecting to an element of the character in real time is cool, because then people are seeing the character like they're at Disneyland seeing their favorite character, instead of just seeing an image or just seeing it flat on a screen. You're seeing them in 3D, and it's really cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love being someone's favorite character. That's my favorite thing to hear. Because, I've only got a couple favorites myself. So when I can be somebody else's and they can connect to that, that's cool in its own way.
Yeah, that's the way I connected to your pictures.
Yeah.
The first time I saw Kirkir is one of my favorite characters in Star Trek.
Yeah.
So amazing how vivid it was to see it, like a real representation of someone in a different scenario, and play around with it and increase the creativity of a storytelling. And it really increased my creativity to write other stories about Star Trek related stories.
Oh, thank you. No, that's wonderful to hear. I love that, because we can't all be our favorites, but we can all see them and we can all get something out of our connection to the character.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, that's sweet.
I had a question. This is kind of going back to the gender thing.
Sure.
I'm as someone who's cisgender, like when I've dressed up as male characters, like it's for Halloween or whatever, I'm like, that's no big deal. Like I didn't have like a crisis about it. But is that something that you feel is specific to, like, you said you had a gender euphoria when you cosplayed as other genders and stuff like that. Do you see that? I don't know how many other non-binary cosplayers are in your circle, but like, is the euphoria part like the common part? Is it like before you started cosplaying and understanding that about yourself, were you more scared of being is it like, I'm trying to figure out how to explain it, but it's like, was it scarier for you to dress as another character knowing that this was kind of inside you and you didn't know how to explain it, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it is. No, so at the time I was in college, I still thought I was a girl, which is fine. I'm not worried about saying that, but at the time, so when I was dressing as a male character, I was dressing as Dr. McCoy because he was my favorite at the time, and I was nervous that I wasn't going to be convincing enough, that people weren't going to know what I was doing, that they were going to go, oh, it's a female McCoy. And that did worry me. So I really overdid it with the makeup because I wanted people to take me seriously. So yeah, there is that. I'm more casual about it now, I think, than I was then. Back then it was more intentional. I don't know. Does that answer that at all?
Yeah, I know. I was just wondering, just in the sense of like, like if you're dressing in like a more gender neutral way for the first time, but dressing as a man for the first time when you've been identifying as a girl, like, as you know, like because I could, you described it as euphoria, but I'm sure for other people it could probably be the opposite thing, where you're just like in a panic of like, oh no, people will know. It's like, you're in a costume. Nobody cares.
That's definitely part of it too. And I think a lot of people struggle with that in real life. And that's something that I try to take away in cosplay life, is you don't need to be that convincing. You just need to have the energy. And if it gives you confidence when you'd otherwise be very scared of dressing in a certain way, if it gives you the confidence to do that, I think it's a really great place to start. Like I said, I did get a pretty positive reaction to it back then, even though it was really horribly overdone. It's a good way to start, because people are more likely to be positive to you at a convention than they are just on the street. And absolutely no problem with you cosplaying a different gender, even if you're not transgender yourself. I don't think it matters. I think it's about your favorite character and bringing them to life.
Just on the gender thing, Oh, actually, before I forget, I wanted to ask what it was like to work with Star Trek, like the official kind of Twitter or website or whatever, when you published your article, because that'd be really cool. But I also wanted to talk about how I see as cosplay and drag is very similar, of like you're performing something that gender is a part of it, and I've kind of always understood my gender that way, as like something that I've performed, which is why I've always really kind of seen myself in drag, but also now increasingly in like cosplay and sci-fi settings, because it's that idea of like we're all elaborately putting something on. Do you see that kind of connection between drag and cosplay?
Absolutely, I do. And I wish I was better at drag makeup, because I would do so many characters just as drag versions of themselves. It's ridiculous. No, I think that's a really great point, because yeah, it's the drama of it in a way. It's the fact that we know it's an act, and that's good. That's something that people like to see and that they're going to react to positively. Yeah, no, I wish I knew more about drag makeup to speak to that specifically. But I do think the two are connected in the fact that you know it's not you, but it's some piece of you that you're going to show. Yeah, I like that. I need to learn some more drag. I need a lot more practice. And then, oh, you mentioned the Star Trek thing. That came about through Sid City, actually. One of the members is a columnist there and asked to interview me. So that's how that came about. I didn't go looking for it. It just kind of came to me. And that ended up being really nice, because they understood that I wanted to present it as a gender issue and as it's in relation to Discovery, because that's what they were covering at the time. So I was really glad to get to do that. And I feel like it's my job now to become more confident with that part of myself and to speak to it so that other people don't experience the sadness that a lot of people in this community do feel. Did I get too deep for everybody there? Oh boy.
Yeah, that was really deep. I mean, was the consideration that how do you express yourself and have you become someone to represent those ideals? And I do share your view, and I have heard your podcast and the way you express it.
Thank you.
It's something to achieve, and I'm so glad to see it in Star Trek Discovery now in the latest episodes being represented. Something that was hidden in Deep Space Nine is now something that's fully our for everything now.
Yes, I love that too, and I'm so glad to finally see that. And I'm glad to see some of our representation too is coming in a human character. You know that I love aliens. I've just said it 100 times, but it's really rewarding for people to see a human in the future that resembles who they are, instead of being, oh, I'm the weird alien. I love that, but not everybody does. So it's important to show, yes, you can be human. Yeah. I'm really excited for this new season. I think it's going to be good. And the cosplay. Oh, every young cosplayer that cosplays one of these characters, I'm just going to be so proud of automatically, because I know that they're really showing a part of themselves there and that they're really letting themselves be vulnerable. And I think that's just going to be amazing. I hope that it rewards each of them.
So they've introduced the non-binary character. Have they introduced the what was the other one?
Oh, Gray, the transgender character, is in episode 4.
Actually, I actually kind of like that. I like how they introduced the character as if there was no big deal. They didn't like put a big flashing light around it. Hey, I'm non-binary, blah 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 blah. It was just like another character. And that's what I like about Star Trek. It's one of those, you don't have to shine a big flashing light to say something. You know what I mean?
I think that too. Yeah, I think that too. And Star Trek has always been forward about representing different genders and different races in the future. And it's nice to see kind of the opposite, that on screen it's very casual and everyone accepts it because it's the future and we hope that's what happens. But then off screen, it's always a huge issue. And that's what's going to get us to the future. That's what's going to open the door for us to make progress, is the fact that we're arguing about it now, but we're not on the screen. So clearly we can get there somehow.
And embrace it in a way.
Yeah.
Evolution.
Yep. Coming one way or another. We might as well just get along.
That is correct, yeah.
And Lower Decks too, just to not go completely off topic. Lower Decks is a great thing to start if you're a new cosplayer because it's animated. So you have a lot of leeway with how it looks in real life when you translate it from a drawing to you.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, there's really no one to say you don't look like the character because the character is two-dimensional and you're not. So right there, you can do whatever you want with it right off the bat.
Yeah, and having said that, your attendee was freaking awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I had a great time doing that. That was for Star Trek specifically. That was a fun one though.
It makes
there are some great real life paintings out there of cartoon characters in real life.
Yeah,
and I think somebody has done one of Lower Decks at some point.
I used one like that for a reference because I was having trouble translating, okay, where exactly should her freckles be? And you know, how fine is her hair cut? So I did look to artists who had rendered them as three-dimensional beings. I did kind of look for something like that because I was struggling myself. So, but you have a lot more freedom with that. And the brighter colors and the bolder lines, it's a lot more fun. Yeah.
So who else off of Lower Decks would you want to do? Would you want to do what's his name? Who's the cyborg one again?
Oh, Rutherford?
Rutherford, yeah, I like that guy.
I have a friend who's going to do a Rutherford cosplay, and it's going to be really cute. I'm really excited.
Oh, yeah, please post pictures of that one.
Yeah, I love doing group cosplays. Otherwise, I wanted to do, I believe she's a Trill, the one that Rutherford goes on a date with once, and she's at the home. But I think she's a Trill, but her spots are really, really large and dramatic. But again, that just makes it easier. You can get away with like 6 big dots instead of a bunch of tiny little intricate ones. So, yeah, there's lots of good stuff in animated shows.
Did you do a animated Doctor?
I have. Yeah,
I thought
did
I had
the animated series one.
because it was fun to just draw the lines on my face as if I had been drawn instead of trying to worry about how the makeup was going to look. Yeah, that was one I did earlier on too, because I wanted to be Dr. McCoy, but I wanted people to know that's who I was. So I went for an animated version. Yeah, thank you. I forgot about that.
What's a favorite piece that you've worn or created that just sort of sticks out in your brain?
Sure. This is the first time I've worn this one, but I'm really digging this one so far. I think it turned out really nicely. And I always get a good reaction to Kira. And at risk of sounding vain, I do it for the reaction, but I do it because somebody connects to it and because I want somebody to feel the same way that I feel. I want them to share that with me. So that's why I cosplay Kira so frequently, but I really do like how this turned out. I'll probably be wearing this one a lot more.
It looks fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, $20 jumpsuit and some sleeves off a thrifted shirt.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Since you do make them so like inexpensively, do you prefer to like update your existing one or just start over from scratch?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So it depends on how much I like the character and what the problem is. Like if it's just not sturdy enough for me to wear, then I'm gonna want to improve it and make it wearable. But if it's just like, oh, you know, I've already done that character, but I really like the cut of that shirt, I'll just take it and use it for something else. It doesn't really bother me to do that. Like I'll reuse wigs and the badges. I have a couple different Mirror Universe ones. I'll reuse the same appliques from one to the other, depending on which one I'm doing. So yeah, reusing within your own wardrobe is another way to keep costs down, definitely. Yeah. If it's a wearability issue though, like if I discovered that this had like a tear in it or something after a day, I'd try to take the sleeves off and put them on something else because I like how these turned out. So you can kind of preserve what worked and then replace what didn't. Yeah.
For the record, I think your next Kira should be the 60s Kira where they did the time travel with what's his name, the Gabriel.
I love that one. Yeah.
That was a good episode.
I think.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite episodes, and I love that little crocheted top.
Yeah.
I've got like the sweater and the corduroys, but I haven't found the perfect crochet top yet. So yeah, it's on my list for sure.
Your list probably is pretty long, isn't it?
It is. The other great thing about that one though is when
anytime that an alien has to like go to Earth and pass as a human, like when Spock wears a beanie or whatever, you can do that and not have to do prosthetics. Like Kira wears a Band-Aid over her nose so that no one knows she's an alien. So you don't even have to draw lines on, you can just put a Band-Aid on your nose. So yeah. Those are great. Alien disguise ones are great as well. Thank you for bringing that up.
I was actually thinking about doing the Tuviks. I just watched that episode today. I'm sorry. The Tuvok one where they went back to 1990, whatever it is, and he's just wearing basically a skull cap. And just jeans from my closet, you know?
And those are great because look how much fun everyone's having remembering that. So you multiply that by a convention and people go, oh, I love that episode. And that's so much fun to be a part of. Definitely do that. And it's easier for you as a cosplayer too, because you don't have to worry about the alien makeup.
Yep.
Yeah, more fun and easier. I always like that combination.
I'm gonna shock you at one of the upcoming STLV or something like that and actually be in cosplay. I'm pretty sure you would probably die of shock if you saw me in cosplay.
I would love you to cosplay. I get a little pressury sometimes, but I do want everyone to try it. I think it's magical.
I understand there are people who, go and just go all out and it's great, but there are also a bunch of people I know of who go to these conventions but don't feel comfortable cosplaying, even though they're surrounded by people who cosplay.
Yeah.
And what do you think the big barrier to entry is, do you think? Just your thoughts.
No, that's really great. And I think sometimes people, at least how I felt when I first started, was I'm not going to do it well enough. I'm not going to give anyone a perfect replica. I'm not going to be convincing. And it just comes with realizing that the way you carry yourself is going to make you more convincing than whatever you're wearing. If I were to put on a really expensive, officially licensed uniform right now, it wouldn't really change your perception of me, I don't think, because you're getting to know the character and the person, not necessarily just the look. So I would encourage people to start with your favorite. I'd always say this too, but start with your favorite so that people can see that love instead of just what you're wearing. Yeah, it doesn't need to be as exclusive as it is. And I'm really trying to change that. That's why I try so hard to take nice pictures when I can to show you that you can look just as good in something you made yourself. Or I guess that someone made for you, because I didn't make any of this. I just put it together. Let somebody else do the hard work, right? Great. And it is intimidating, but if you go into it with whatever strength your character brings you, you're going to have a great time regardless. And nobody's going to question you. Nobody questions me. Nobody comes up to me and tells me that's not accurate because I'm selling it the way it is. And I try to be open about, yeah, no, I know it's not. It doesn't matter.
Actually, you actually have gotten people come up to you and say that's not great. I mean, I would think that more people, especially at the Star Trek convention, are a little bit more open to you actually just doing something. I mean, because every person I've met at the Star Trek convention has been pretty cool. I mean, maybe I'm just lucky I haven't run into too many a-holes, but everybody I met at the Star Trek convention have been pretty cool and welcoming and open for that kind of stuff.
No, that's absolutely right. And I think my cosplay life would have gone a lot differently if that hadn't been my first convention, because people there for the most part are very excited and welcoming regardless of the quality of your costume. And that meant a lot to me as a beginner. We need to encourage people who might be scared that they don't look good enough. We need to kind of seek them out and tell them, yeah, you do, you look great, keep doing it. I think if I had gone to a huge Comic-Con event instead of a Star Trek event, it might not have been as friendly and I might have been a little more withdrawn. So just choosing where you start really has a lot of control too, both as a cosplayer and as a queer person. Choosing where you come out and where you feel comfortable is something that you can do in both of those areas. I don't know, I love this and I'm so glad that people want to hear about it, and I really hope that you all at least try it once.
Yeah. Have you experienced? Yeah, I've heard. Okay, so I'm not really a convention person in general.
That's okay.
Yeah. But I don't know. You hear about women especially being harassed in cosplay. Is that something that you either have experienced or witnessed, or do you think that's a bigger convention thing and not a Trek convention thing, or
Yeah, thankfully it doesn't seem to be a Trek convention thing. I have been approached a few times that made me feel uncomfortable, but like I think I mentioned, whatever character I'm being, I know would tell that person off, so I feel okay doing it too. Because I feel like for a while it's not me, it's the character, and if somebody were to touch Kira, she'd say, "Get your hands off me." So I don't feel bad doing that. I think that it's just a matter of keeping that confidence with you and keeping friends by you that'll support you, and make sure that if somebody does cross a line, you're prepared to tell them it's not okay. Like I said, it's only been one time at the Star Trek convention, though. I think people there are generally very decent and very respectful. They ask before they even take a photo, which is always nice. Yeah, we need more of that in the community, though, definitely at large, yes. And a lot of conventions, and I don't go to them, but I know from photos that a lot of them are starting to do those, cosplays not consent signs. And I hope that those help, and I hope that people enforce that. Because that's a sucky way to lose the community. No, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I did see it was, and I live in Chicago. I go to Chicago C2E2, and I actually did see someone get escorted out for something like that.
Oh, good.
It was because I'm not sure what she was wearing, but he just was overly friendly, made her feel really uncomfortable. And one of the, I think she's told one of the convention people, and they escorted the guy out because on the tickets, like, you're here only, you don't have the right to be here. You're only here because we like you here, and as long as you follow the rules, and they do have those, cosplayers not consent thing, and I'm not sure what exactly he did or what he made her feel like, but he was escorted out. I mean, that's him off the thing.
Yeah. No, that's heartening to hear that places do enforce it. That's good, that it's not just words, it's actually actions too. That's good to know.
Well, I mean, they want people in cosplay, because to be perfectly honest with you, the more people, when I go to conventions, even non-Star Trek, the more people I see in cosplay, the more fun I have at those conventions. I tend to take a lot of pictures with those people, so I can say, "Hey, look, this guy did. He did a cool one." See like Dr. Dooms or Dr. Octopus, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to get those kind of pictures, but you don't want to be like, creepy about it for like a female cosplay, No,
that's true. I think that, a lot of conventions realize that it is part of the draw of the event itself, is that people can also see the character in a way, in addition to maybe the actor. So I think it's good that they're protecting people that are kind of giving a free boost to their event. That's good to hear.
I also know other franchises like World of Darkness have similar rules too. I used to work with them, and especially if we're doing something outside, there's a strict no touch rule.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So, there's a strict no touch rule unless you're LARPing inside World of Darkness.
Okay.
But somebody from the outside that comes in and tries to snap pictures, they're immediately, and we usually always have security.
Good.
Hilarious, because you never know there's security.
Star Trek could go ahead and give all of the security guards the golden shoulders.
I just posted that in the chat.
Nice.
Yeah, no, and a lot of costumes too are designed to be attractive on screen. So when we replicate them, we risk that in real life, which is a strange way to deal with it. But I am glad to hear that conventions do respect people and take it seriously when there's an infraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want that to be a reason that someone doesn't cosplay because they're afraid of being harassed. That's really spooky. I don't like that. Let's avoid that.
As far as the gender and cosplay element goes, was one of the draws of being able to do cosplay the fact that you could explore that without really having to sort of come out and say, okay, I'm exploring my own gender, I'm exploring whether or not I'm queer, and in what way?
Absolutely. Because I didn't really know or understand at the time. I just did that because it was my favorite character. And then I looked back and I realized, like, oh, when I did Halloween when I was younger, I was usually a male character. But that's just because that was my favorite character. I didn't realize that there was something underlying there. So yeah, I do think that's part of it. And like I said, I think it's a safe place for you to do that and not necessarily out yourself. You can just be like, oh, well, it's my favorite character. And that's a good enough reason for most people. They're not going to dig into it and question, well, why are you Dr. McCoy? They're going to be like, oh, it's Dr. McCoy. It's much better at cons.
That's awesome. It sounds like a really safe, personally and publicly way to sort of experiment with that.
I definitely think it is, because you get out of it whatever you put into it. It doesn't, I mean, the reactions of other people are going to help you out because they're going to be positive most of the time. But really, yeah, I think it's a good way for you to reflect on qualities of yourself too. Yeah. Even as a cisgender person cosplaying a character of a different gender, I think it's fine. I think that I know I say it a million times, it's about connecting to the character and seeing what trait in them you want to bring into yourself. We can learn from people of all genders.
Actually, that's a good question. So
yeah,
what traits do you think that you've brought into yourself from being a Trill, from being 7 of 9, from being Kira? I'm just curious, like, I mean, what have you taken from them?
Yeah. From Kira, I've taken the confidence that she has to tell people when they're wrong and then to look back and realize when she's wrong. And that's a lot later in her journey, but it's still something that I can grab if I want it. And then from Trill characters, I like that you can come from a difficult past. You can come from a traumatic or painful experience and still have a great new life. You can start over anytime. That's something that I like to take from them. If I'm being a specific character like Esri, I know that it's okay for me to not be 100% prepared. I can still make friends and have fun. There's always some dumb little cliche thing that you can pull and really just live for a day. It's so fun, so freeing to connect.
Nice.
Thank you.
And one final question. What are you going to do with your old Kira uniform? Are you chopping that up to do something else with it, or just curious?
No, I'm going to try and find somebody that'll fit that I can just give it away to. I'm looking into different ways to do like an online giveaway for that. But I realize that's hard when it's only one size, and I'd like to be more inclusive than that. But I made it for me, so that's the size it is. But I'd still like to give it away if there's someone that can wear it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it doesn't fit me.
It's spandex, it's stretchy. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. And yeah, giving it away is nice, but I still want to primarily encourage people to make their own, because you're going to feel proud of it and you're going to feel a connection to the character that you don't get when you buy something. This has been delightful.
I know. Are there any more questions?
This has been so lovely. Thank you for talking to me about all of my favorite things.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and tell everybody your social media and all that stuff.
If you want to ask me cosplay questions or follow my progress as I'm building things, you can find me on Twitter as Thrifty Trekkie or on Facebook as just Thrift Trek. That's the one I made first, so it's got the weird name. And then we talked a little bit about Trill, but if you have any interest in Trill and queer characters, I have quite a long post-canon Deep Space Nine story that I used to be very shy about, but now which I'm pushing on everyone I meet. So if you want to read that, you can find that on Archive of Our Own. My author name is KJ Gooding, Gooding. Yeah, I'm known primarily for my cosplay, but I've been writing professionally for many years. So if you want to read, please look into that too. There are many ways to express your fandom. Cosplay is just one.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I know everybody here was so excited to hear you talk about cosplay.
Thank you. No, it's fun. I will talk about it literally anytime. So if you have questions, please find me on those sites. I'm always happy to talk about cosplay.